If you're planning to order from overseas, 1, make sure that it's a company that has shipped to your country before. 2, make sure that they can manufacture to Australian standards. 3, make sure you're dealing with manufacturer and not an agent. And 4, if possible, have someone review before they are shipped to you.
You're listening to the She Renovates podcast. You're listening to She Renovates, the podcast for women who want to renovate to create an income and a life they love.
Hello, it's Bernadette back with another episode of She Renovates, and today I'm lifting the curtain on a part of renovating that seems a bit like a mystery, and that's ordering custom renovation products from China. This is something that we have just dipped our toe into because we needed some custom doors for our Potts Point project. So when we did our concept, the plan was to convert the kitchen into a bedroom and the bedroom into a kitchen living room, and to put some beautiful steel and reeded glass doors in between so that there was some privacy, but still the light was allowed to come through. And to have those doors made in Australia would cost around about $30,000, which was way outside our budget. Our budget was $109,000. And so I decided we went down a rabbit hole of investigating an aluminium manufacturer who used a very fine section to make the doors so they look like steel. And we also sourced some quotes from some local suppliers or fabricators to make the doors, but none of them were really working, either money-wise or we weren't getting the finish that we wanted. So I decided to take the plunge and see if I could source an offshore supplier to fabricate those doors. And I'm going to walk you through that process today because, spoiler alert, it was a very positive experience and I would definitely recommend it on really special items. I guess the thing I think is there are actually companies in Australia that sell custom-made products such as doors and windows, and they are fabricated in China. So I'm cutting out the middleman, but it was definitely well worth it to keep the project on budget and to get the outlook that we had planned in our Reno plan. So I will be referring to my notes because I've made notes to make sure that this is valuable for you. So just bear with me. So the Potts Point project is in an Art Deco building. It was built in the 1930s by a female developer. So we felt that the design of those doors was really key. When you walk into the kitchen living, they're the first thing you see. So they needed to be good. We saw examples in other apartments in that building and just felt that they didn't really work. They weren't the effect we were looking for. They were a bit masculine and so on. We were designing for a middle-aged woman, so we wanted something that was quite feminine. And so it was going to need to be very custom. The other thing around functionality is that the door needed to be in 4 leaves, so it's quite a wide opening, so 2.4 metres wide. And so we would have a pair of doors in the middle that will fold back onto side lights. So basically we're talking about 4 quite skinny doors. And so there was a reasonable amount of complexity in the project. So there are several sites that you can source products, offshore products, and several countries. So given that this was my first attempt, I went the easiest way possible. I went straight to Alibaba and I started researching steel and glass doors. So I came up with quite a few companies. One of the things that I noticed is the people that were communicating on AliExpress didn't seem to know a hell of a lot about their product. And so I sort of got the sense that they might not be company employees, they might be people who are just paid to sell. And so I tried really hard to get someone who I felt was, employed by the company. So it was a more direct relationship. And the lady that I ended up settling on, that was the feeling that I got from her. So in the beginning, I asked lots of questions. So it took longer than I would have liked it to, mainly because I needed to satisfy myself that I was making the right decision and that she had integrity and this wasn't going to be a disaster story. So of course I asked things like timeframes, how long they took to make, how long they'd take to get to Australia. Actually, I didn't ask many questions at all at that stage, come to think of it. But I also asked to see a lot of their products. So she was sharing lots of, photos of different products that they'd made. None of them were like what we were wanting, but I could see they had capacity. I did also ask if they had an understanding of Australian standards because the products needed to suit our laws and so on. And so then what I decided to do was to get a quote from them. So I had it in my head what I thought they would look like. Because we were featuring arches in the renovation, I was thinking we would have an arch in the doors. And over dinner one night, I said to David, I'm going to have a go at ordering these doors. And I showed him the drawing. So I just drew a drawing on the back of an envelope. And he had different ideas, and his design was a little bit more refined in that he created a design where there was a central